teach and help and guide people with respect to how to care for yourself as best you can, and to tell your own story, and to decide at the end, how do you want to live out your life? Your best life isn't always about having money, because I always tell people you can have a whole lot of money and have no health and no life to live. And so I'm here to share my joy, and my joy is making myself available to help as many persons as I can, physically, mentally, emotionally. So that's me.
Cool, Janelle.
Hi. Sorry, I was doing, I was here, but I was like running around doing a million things. I'm a stay-at-home mom now, which is far more work than I had thought it was going to be. I'm ready to go back to work now, but I am also a wellness consultant. I think once you're a wellness consultant, you're always that. I did massage and personal training and all those things for a very long time, very long time. So, you know, like I say, I think once you have that frame of mind, you're always that person. I don't know. I guess maybe this is a great group because I kind of am coming from a different angle in terms of I don't know, and like you say, everything is welcome. And a lot of the times I get the question of put me on a diet or help me lose weight and what works. And I always tell everybody, all of it works, right? It all works depending on what works for your lifestyle. And like you said, you love meat, but meat wasn't loving you. And, you know, so I think now after this whole doing wellness for so long, I've come to a point where I really want people to listen to their body. Not everybody's supposed to give up meat. Not everybody is supposed to eat meat. Not everybody is supposed to stay away from wheat or gluten or, you know, so it's a lot of listening to your body now. And I really moved into that because I had eating disorder. And that is another thing. So the word diet, I make sure not use, but, you know, things like that. So I think this is going to be a really interesting topic because I don't know. A lot of people always are looking for the way. And my theory now is there is not any one way. You really just have to look at your lifestyle, your body, you know, and that kind of thing. And that's what I do now is I really help people flesh out what's going to work for them. And that's it.
Cool. And I see Deandra just joined us. Deandra, I think we added her bio like today. She's interning with the Island School. And she's going to bring a little mental health perspective. So Deandra, do you want to unmute and just tell us a little bit about yourself and your interest in psychology and mental health?
Hi, of course. I'm sorry for being late. But wellness to me is a holistic perspective. And I think a lot of people forget that sometimes and focus a lot on physical wellness. And for me, if your mental is in there, then you can't you can't say that you are well. So for me, mental health is my passion. It's my everything. I advocate for it every day in my family, in the people I encounter every day at work, especially at work, because that is that's my field. I'm in industrial and organizational psychology, but I'm currently right now getting my counseling degree from the University of the West Indies. So working on that, of course, so that I can become an organizational counselor. And ultimately, my wellness goal that's, linked to what we're talking about today is just advocating for mental health in the workplace. We live in a society that's driven by service. We live in a service-oriented society. So a lot of mental health problems comes along with that. So I want to work where people can go to work and they can leave work feeling the way that they got there. And in some cases, leaving work feeling better than they went there. So I'm advocating for more regionally and culturally appropriate employee assistance programs at work so that there can be holistic wellness. You don't leave home feeling good and go to work and struggle all day and then come home to have to put on a happy face for your family. I want that to be something that you can feel, something that you can, achieve when you go to work. You go to work feeling good, you leave work feeling good, and you can come home and give your family that same energy that you left them with that morning. So yes, that's me in a nutshell. Mental health application at work, at home, in your everyday life, emotional wellness, all the way. Thank you.
All the way.
I look forward to our
Excellent. We need that.
Awesome. Kadisha is already in the comments, says, love it, Deandra. So I think right now we're living in probably one of the most difficult periods of a lot of people's lives. There's so much uncertainty. There's a lot of economic struggle. There are mental health challenges. And I think a lot of times one of the first things to go is our care of ourselves, especially when money is tight. You kind of sacrifice in the area of food, or you no longer you can go to the gym anymore. So how do you work out? So right now, what are some everyday strategies that people can use, especially with limited resources, to pay attention to their health?
Well, I think we have to start, like Janelle said, I think she alluded to listening to your body and being more in touch with what really works for you. And I think if you get up every day and you're eating a certain way, you're falling into a pattern, and you find that things are changing, you're becoming heavier, uncomfortable, you find your mood, traveling in a bad direction, if the weight, or if you are struggling with inflammation, I think we have to it's a time when we really have to tune into our bodies and what our bodies are saying to us. And at that point, that's when we really need to look at it and say, what can I change? What do I really know I'm doing that's not good for me? And not good for my family, and as women, we often have to take the lead in the household, and we make the changes. And it's difficult with kids because they won't want to follow certain patterns, and they're really, into the snacking. But there's things that we can do. We have to be so creative to make it acceptable for the rest of the family. That's a challenge. And I'm sure Janelle is finding that with kids, having to facilitate their needs, integrate that into the family, that's a challenge. But you have to be creative,
I totally agree. I've one of the rules, especially in my house, is that I get 30 minutes. That's it, to do some yoga or Pilates or something. So it's I'm going to fit it into around the schedule of my daughter's schooling and my son's schooling, but of course they come first. But I do slip it in, and when I do my 30 minutes, it's that. So that was one thing that I really wanted to share with a lot of my friends and family was, make sure that you have a schedule, and one of them is your little workout time. Now, it doesn't have to be the best workout, right? It doesn't have to be crushing every time, but just having a routine every day, just keep your body moving, especially in times like this, right? It's a really hard time. So that was one of the things, just 30 minutes for you, even if it's stretching that does huge things for your body. So that was one of my advice. And then this, like you say, the snacking when you're home and then we're about to have another lockdown, I'm like, I think I'm going to bake something this weekend. No, I'm not. Yeah. Why would I do that? Just make better choices. So yeah, try to find a routine in our new normal now, right? This is going to be life for we don't know how long. So find that schedule with your kids, with yourself, and really and stay disciplined because it's a really hard time. It's a hard time.
I agree. I think what has happened with respect to this pandemic is that we have forced ourselves into a survival mode. And whenever we get or we are forced into a place of discomfort, we don't tend to make really good decisions with respect to our bodies, our mental and emotional health. And one of the things I always say is go back to what you remember when you were growing up. Our parents cooked a whole lot. And so one of the sense of securities we have is how we are drawn to fast foods. And when you think about the one thing that you miss that's probably not good for your body, and for so many different reasons, and I don't want to get into the whole fast food chain, how food is provided, how it's produced, carcinogen levels. I don't want to get into that, but I think that we need to be a little bit more creative in the kitchen. We also need to, when we have young kids, I know I was always in the kitchen with my mom, and that's how most of us learn how to cook. And so we need to get a little bit more creative because the food that you prepare at home is probably much better for your body than the food that you buy outside of that. And get involved. We played games, movement, marbles, jacks. There are a whole lot of things that you can do. If you've had a regimen of exercising and you feel as though you are confined, you like weights, invest in a jump rope before you know the country is going to close down. Fill up a 1 gallon, 2 of them, water jug and use it as your weight for squats. 15 to 30 minutes, like Janelle said, 30 minutes. And also, because of this climate, you really want to sit and really gravitate towards more meditation, quiet times, because I can tell you personally, this lockdown started off pretty great. I was working remotely. Then the second lockdown, mentally and emotionally, I could not find the balance because I felt maybe, for lack of a better word, imprisoned. So I'm a yoga instructor as well, like Janelle, and we find quiet moments, whether it's 10 minutes of breathing techniques or just sitting quietly. I think what is a good idea is to teach your children about it. Teaching means learning something new. Once you've learned something new, share it. Because we've allowed all of the external forces to facilitate our greatest needs when we can find them in and of ourselves. And so my thing is, I've always seen in my home a cookbook. Cook something different today. Choose your portion size. Keep moving. Fold clothes. Dust. These are actually, we always think that we have to be in the gym. We have to pick up a weight. We need to be on a treadmill. Moving through your home, there's always something to do. Once you are moving, that is actually cardiovascular exercise. And I promise you, it could probably take half a day to clean your home every week. And so you have to now be creative because, believe it or not, we're about to go into another lockdown. And so you have to choose wisely. When you go into the grocery store, survival mode means I need chips, I need cookies. And you tend to overlook the things that are most important that our bodies need. And so you find yourself snacking all day and not eating foods like whole foods. So we gravitate towards the chips. What is happening to us is we are now mentally and emotionally impacted by what's happening. And the body always tends to find comfort food. And so you now have to think about what you're doing, think about what you're eating, and think about how you are going to best take care of yourself as opposed to forcing yourself into the thought of having to survive, because it's a crisis, but it's really not the type of prices where you have to clean the store shelves off with all of the chips and cookies. Tomorrow's another day. What do you do when all of those things are gone, you know? So we have to start making really good decisions. We have to be positive in the environment that we're locked into, not just for ourselves, but for our kids. We have to find different ways to move. We tend to sit in a sedentary state for too long. Get up and move. Get up and find something to do. You have kids, get involved. Let your kids teach you something about movement. They play a lot of physical games at school. So it's really an opportunity strategically to learn something new, become creative, and think outside of what you are accustomed to. And possibly that will lead you to make really great decisions.
I know a lot of people say that they want to do better in terms of food choices, but it's so much cheaper to eat badly. I think it takes a lot of strategy and watching the specials and all these different things to be able to afford to eat well, right? Like, I don't have a ton of money. I don't make a lot of money. I have to like really budget. And I'm vegetarian-ish, right? Like, I might mess up sometimes and have a little chicken breast. But I go to the produce aisle first. And by the time I finish the produce aisle, I'm like, okay, I don't have much room here. You know, once I got my broccoli and spinach and stuff like that, and I'm pretty much fine at that point, but there's not a lot of wiggle room at all. And for people, it's just me. So I know that people who are on one income, a low income, and trying to feed families, even harder. I can't, imagine how they do it. Do any of you have any tips or ideas of how to eat well, particularly on a tight budget?
Well, for me, I think if you want to eat well, the simplest thing is to go and watch some of these documentaries. They will stop you in your tracks and you will be vegan, vegetarian tomorrow. So if you're serious, there's stuff you can watch.
What the hell, lady? What the hell? Was enough for me to say, oh my God.
Game Changers. And I do it in this order. Game Changers, because it's lighthearted and they show you what happens to people after 1 week of going plant-based. And that's what people don't realize. It's just how the pandemic hit and nature started to recover. We can start to change significantly in like 4 days. My mom, I've been vegan for 11 months now. I did not intend to be on this journey or become a spokesperson, but it just kind of happened. And my mom has been resisting for all this time. And she went vegan 6 days ago and she's like, shh, I don't want to say anything, but I'm sleeping better. And this is happening. That is happening. And I'm like, didn't your face change? Because she's in the UK, so I don't see her all the time. And she said, yeah, but I thought it was because I cut my hair. I'm like, no, girl. It all happened so quick. And some weird things, like I was driving within the first week and I was like, what's different? I was driving at night and I could actually see the lights weren't blinding me. And I'm like, that's impossible. You see a lot of things happening, you say, that's impossible. But if you watch these documentaries, Game Changers, What the Health, and then from that, I moved to Pork Over Knives. And my husband and I, I was just traumatized. We just watched Land of Hope and Glory. It's on YouTube. That is Freddy Krueger horrible, like make you change how you eat overnight, because food is coming to you in nice packages and nothing before that is nice. Nobody's roaming on a field, having a grand old time in the sunshine. That's not how the animals are being raised. We don't have farms here. So, it's coming from the States and other places. And we become a dumping ground because, us little ones, when stuff is going up, give it to them, they'll take it at a bargain. So we don't know where our food is coming from. So if we want to make the change, the first thing to do is to seriously sit down and watch some of these documentaries. And I share them on my page. After that, you don't want to eat that anymore. And so where you end up next is looking, what can I do? And you get into your beans and you get into your tofu. And that's where you go. You have to start, like Alicia said, thinking like your parents did, and even go further back, your grandparents, your grandparents, if they wouldn't recognize some of this stuff as food, we should not be eating it. So I've recently gone back into yam, and I was like, what cassava tastes like? What dasheen tastes like? I was buying these things and I was getting really excited. So these are things that we can go back and start to eat. And instead of buying canned beans, we can be looking at dry beans, soaking them overnight, which is an important part of the process. Make a big batch of soup, you know, for the whole family. That really stretches a long way. If we make a big chili, you know, it can end up being different things on different days. It can be a chili potato for lunch. It can be tacos and fajitas, those kinds of meals. But it takes a little bit of practice. And so that's what I'm trying to do on the page that I started, because I realized that if I could get into being a vegan and enjoy it so much and have all these benefits, there are people who are seriously unwell. This could be really more life-changing for them. You know, I was suffering from aches and pains and the usual maladies that you put down to a bit of aging, but people are out there having to have surgery and different things that this could really impact them. So when I went online, it wasn't available. I would see a lot of oatmeal like bowls and Buddha bowls and mushy stuff. We Caribbean people, we don't want that. So I would be preparing the macaroni and cheese. I would be doing the fried chicken looking stuff and reminding people that, okay, rice and peas and rice, that's vegan. Plantain, you know, you're not losing your life here. You can still eat grits. And so I figured out interesting ways to make tuna, as my husband called it, tuna. But that was so fishy, man, I almost had to open a window. So, you know, it's a creativity. And I know it's difficult with kids, but I see my sister in the UK, you know, really working through it, like a paella and things like that, you know, a big rice dish with lots of veggies in it. But if you really want to make the change, stop and think. And my page, what I'm trying to do is to make people recognize this kind of food that we're accustomed to can be done. So macaroni and cheese, potato salad, but it can be done in a way that's healthier for you. So, you know, there's steps.
Yeah, and that is one of the challenges that I've always heard was that it's very expensive to eat healthy. And actually, it's not necessarily true, because it's the meat that's expensive. The meat is very expensive when you tally it up. And so what I always do, I don't care how much money I have, but I will always go to the back of the grocery store, and where the vegetables are about to expire, always grab them, because you can cook them that day. They'll go into smoothies. They don't have to look pretty. These, you know, by the time you make a soup or you've stir fried it with something, it's not going to look the same anyway. So, but you do have to cook it that day, right? Most of the time. So always look for things that are imperfect, that other people don't want. So that's the number one. And number two is, like you said, beans. Beans are like a superfood. It has the protein, it has the fiber. And if you make a pot of that, I know fast food, I find that the opposite. You know, you buy 4 meals for a fast food, and that's like $25, almost $30. I can make so much more food for $30. So that's our fight all the time. My daughter, she's 15. I'm like, I can go home and make this for like so much cheaper. Don't even talk the chicken places. Like, that's insane. You know, so if you really, people think it's cheaper, but it's not. So try to find as many like bargain things that nobody else wants, and you can really recreate it. Even like the apples that are going bad, you can make apple turnover or tart, or, you know, apple sauce. My son has special needs, and it's one of the very few things he would, well, not this week, but like it's all kids, right? They're like, I love bananas, and you buy all the bananas, and then they don't like bananas anymore. But you know, you do, like you say, you have to be creative, but you make it stretch where you can. Rice, you know, but a lot of people try to stay away from rice, but jasmine rice in particular, it's a little pricier. But rice in general, when you wash it, it's not bad for you. Portion size is important. Like, don't eat all the rice, but it's not bad. Especially if you're
washing the rice.
Huh?
Washing the rice. Tell me more about
wash. You can't just like eat the rice. You know, like when
you said especially if you wash it. Does that like do something to make it better? Like start?
No, not nutritionally, but it's just like I see so many people like cooking rice and don't wash it. I don't even know why I said that, but no, it doesn't like magically take the carbs out of the rice.
Okay. Oh, dang. Okay.
Or the starch, but yeah, you have to be creative, but it's not more expensive to eat healthy. Now, of course, if you want to eat organic, yes, I think it is a crime that we then have to choose between the non-organic fruit and vegetables, you know, things like that. But, you know, especially in Nassau, we can't afford to only eat organic food. That's way out of reach. But, you know, those steps of just eating more vegetable based, meat is expensive. So I think retraining people's idea that eating healthy is expensive, it's totally flawed. It is not more expensive. It is cheaper if you can be a little bit more creative, right? So that's it. You know, fast food is quite pricey, I find. And then you're hungry again in another 20 minutes. Like you say, if you make a big bowl of soup, not that everybody wants to eat soup all week. I get that as well. But if you are on a budget, it's definitely something, it's a possibility.
Yeah, we, you know, Nadine and Janelle, you guys are you're really touching me. Health and wellness is not a one size fits all. The dynamics of everybody's body is different. And so what someone likes and what they're choosing maybe would be something very different for someone else. I'm not always the person to push vegan or vegetarian. We all have our reasons as to why we eat the way we do, choose the type of food that we choose. In most instances, persons tend to choose right when everything wrong is happening to their bodies. We are predisposed with some of these diseases. My God, it's right on the tip of my tongue. I'm so good with this word. Degenerative diseases. Yeah. And so if you know your family's history, then for one, that should propel you to really consider what you're putting in your body. The second thing is, if you have been plagued with something before and maybe you're feeling a little better, whether it's sinuses or allergies, and what people don't know is dairy impacts how your body responds, and you will see it with eczema, psoriasis, allergies. For me, and my understanding of dairy is that our bodies were never designed to digest cow's milk, for example. But we buy it because it's convenient, and it's cheaper than buying silk, soy milk, or almond milk. But when you talk about what's expensive and what's not, we don't, if you guys don't know and you don't really think about it, we go in the food store, but we have the exchange, we have the farmer's market. When you go to the exchange, everything is really in bulk. You take a friend with $20 and you're $20, and the two of you collectively can buy a whole lot of fruits and vegetables, split it, because you're splitting the cost, and you package it appropriately, and you'll have fruits and vegetables for a long time. I have a tendency to look for 2 days before the expiry date of spinach, for example. You can freeze spinach and prepare it with your omelet. You can steam it and put it on the side of your meals. The farmer's market, when you talk about organic is extremely, extremely unnecessarily, Janelle said it, expensive in this country. It's an overkill, so much that people will pass it. Anything that says organic. and they reach for the next thing that's possibly not good. But we, in this day and time, in this climate, one of the things that I know for a fact is that if we plant more, we will have more. If we patronize our local fishermen as opposed to going in the store and purchasing fish, the poultry houses, they exist. So when you purchase locally, you're actually getting organic. And so we really, and I'm a proponent for it, to really patronize what we consider local. Because if we keep going into these lockdowns, eventually import-export is going to cease, or it's going to slow down. We won't have these things that we like to purchase in the food store available to us. And so this is where you need to start making better decisions. I take pumpkin. If pumpkin looks like it's spoiled, there's a cart, by the way, in the food store where you have items that are not perfect. Janelle said it. Yeah. But they're workable. I always buy pumpkin, and I like pumpkin. I cook pumpkin soup with the seeds and the skin, because you're really throwing away the nutrients. You add some corn to that, you have a great meal. And one of the things that I remember growing up is a really good peanut butter sandwich. So, Alicia, you want to know how you stretch? You stretch by going back to just not what's convenient, but what you're used to, because the older people from before me are living longer than the younger people. And most people don't take that into consideration, with the exception of COVID that's impacted the death toll. The older people are living longer because they really never deviated from what they are accustomed to. So meat is expensive here, yes, but instead of chicken, go for turkey. Take that turkey, boil it, steam it, curry it. Jasmine rice, I love it. It's healthier than the average white rice. And choose your portion size. I think it was you, Nadine or Janelle, that talked about portion size. Food becomes expensive when we constantly have to go to the store and purchase the same things over and over, because our plates have to be filled to the rim and above. And I think when we take into consideration the size of our stomach, ball your fist. When you look at the size of your fist in a ball, that tells you the size of your stomach. When you feel full after you've eaten, you've overeaten because you have expanded the size of your stomach. So when you're eating, be considerate to your body. And so there's just so many different things that, you know, you ladies have some really valid points that I hope people are taking in. But BAMSI, the exchange, the farmer's market, the dock where fish is available when the boats come in, buy in bulk, go with your friend, split the cost. You would save more and spend less, and you will get more for your money as opposed to just going in the store and picking up everything because you're trying to survive.
Yeah, I'm gonna catch us up on some comments.
Sure.
I think from Nadine, I think when you were talking about the documentaries, Olivia saying Down to Earth and Kiss the Ground are both on Netflix.
Yeah.
Bina says informative and thank you. Lauren is singing the praises of local farmers markets and BAMSI. And Kadisha is saying that by definition, local doesn't equate to organic. It's true.
That was very upsetting for me to discover.
Yeah. One thing though, I noticed that when we eat locally grown food, it tastes so much better. You don't notice it right away, but for months during the lockdown, I was eating getting a lot of cherry tomatoes locally, because I was just having salads all the time. And when they stopped, like it was just no more cherry tomatoes. I bought one from the store and I was like, what is this garbage?
Yeah.
I can't eat that anymore.
The length of time that it took to get from wherever it was grown to your table compared to if you bought it from somebody locally.
Yeah, like I don't think I can buy them anymore. I have to wait until next year when we have them again.
Well, if you go into the food store, what we don't educate ourselves on is what's seasonal and what's not.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so what's not in season, you find that they are more expensive. The taste is different. And so the local farmers can only sell what's in season. And that's why I would always patronize their businesses. Because I know I'm not going to see mangoes 24/7, 365 days of the year. And so you know that I'm buying this product. I probably won't see this for another 3 or 4 months. So let me get this. And what you can do for something that you like a lot in terms of fruits or vegetables, you can freeze it. Mm-hmm. You can store it and prepare it later as opposed to watching it rot because you bought too much. So you know if you planned your meals, and I love meal planning, and I think meal planning keeps us healthier. For persons like myself, I don't know who else is not working remotely. If I don't plan a meal, I don't have bad eating habits. I think my worst eating habits is that I won't eat at all. But if I did not, I watch in my environment. If you don't meal prep, you tend to purchase when Susie goes out, wherever she's going, you just say, okay, bring me a double cheeseburger with biggie fries and a Coke soda. But if you meal prep, you know what you're having on this particular day. And it's okay to have a schedule of meals. And I think that's great discipline in that. But I don't want to stray away too far from just, knowing what's in season, supporting the locals. Fish is always easily accessible. So, don't, for people, for anyone, for all of us, don't become desperate, because in desperation, we make bad decisions. We just need to sit down, meditate for maybe 5-10 minutes, really calm, bring ourselves to a place of center, and then start writing. And I love that concept, because you tend to write down what you may need, how you're going to prepare for this next lockdown, what would be the needs of your kids, schedule a game night, something that keeps your energy really positive, have family conversations. I think what has happened, I had a wonderful story about families coming back together and really creating an environment that's conducive to positivity. And you just have to take the stand and say, you know what, I don't know when this is going to happen again, but I won't be defeated by this. And so you really have to contemplate how you're going to live out these days until this is done, or accept the fact that it will always be with us.
And there are people who have a lot of information that we might not have, or the know-how, or like they know exactly where to go. And some are figuring out how to monetize that and how to provide services. So one of my favorites is my friend's company, Seasonal Sunshine Bahamas. And they're excellent. I really didn't have to shop for produce, like Nadine knows. All of the cherry tomatoes I was talking about, my greens, cucumbers, mangoes, like all of that was coming to my door because they source it. And they go to multiple places. So they go to the Gladstone Road Farmers Market, they go to Bamsey, they go, they were receiving stuff from the islands by the boat. And every week they call and they say what they have, and I say what I want and how much I want to spend. And they bring that. So that's a lot less work for me having to go all these different places, because they're doing it and they're telling me what's available. So look up Seasonal Sunshine Bahamas on Facebook. They don't always post everything, but if you message them with any questions or how to do something, how to find something, they're more than happy to tell you how to do it. They're usually on the porch at Joondalup on Saturdays, but of course now that farmers market isn't happening anymore. But the other thing that they taught me is really paying attention. I think you mentioned this, Alicia, paying attention to expiration dates on products. And it's almost like they have a schedule, but it seems to be in their head. So we'd be hanging out and they'd be like, today's the day we got to go to Fresh Market. And I'm like, what do you mean? They're like, do you remember those vegan pizzas? And I'm like, what? But they know what is going to be discounted when. just by the dates, because you know that the stuff is still good a little bit beyond those dates. A lot of those dates aren't expiration. They're like best buy or sell by.
Makes a big difference.
They're not marked down. You can take them to a manager and say, hey,
hey,
what are you going to do for me? And you get it for like $2 when it was like $14.
Yeah.
So like just learning some of those things, and it takes some time. And I just want to point out, I know we talked a little bit about things that are expensive, right? And I think it's really easy to dismiss that a lot of people just don't have the money. Like we kind of say, oh, you can make it work. Some people really can't make it work. Like I've seen it personally. But even if you can make it work, sometimes people don't have the mental space or the time. Like I've been in situations where I did not have the time to think about how to make $20 work for a week. Like the best I could do is say, well, I guess, well, so-and-so have the $5 special, so I guess I could eat 4 days. You know, like that's a real thing. And I think we have to start thinking about how we can share this kind of information with other people and provide services to help people who don't have the means to still be able to survive and not feel like they're stuck with the number one, you know, three days out of the week.
Right. Even though that I know I should be a lot more health conscious all the time. People are always thinking that that's what I do, like all the time. No, I eat fast food too. My kids eat, and balance is important. So I would never say totally take it out, unless that's what you want to do, right? So of course, some people never eat fast food at all, and for some people that would be devastating, right? They can't live their life. But I will say this: who else is exhausted of cooking? These lockdowns, I am exhausted of cooking. So it's not just meal planning, because in like quote unquote everyday life, that was more enticing and appealing to me, because we had so much going on that I had to meal plan to make sure everybody ate, because that was actually the faster way. But I personally am tired of cooking. And so many people are like, I miss restaurants. So now what's happening is that we have to now again find a balance, because when things open up, we tend to then go eat. You'll see the fast food lines go extra long, because people are now missing that. And now they're overindulging in it because they feel deprived. So it's a lot of up and down and all around, and emotionally it's taxing, right? So you're like, if I stand by that stove one more time and cook one more meal for these people, you're gonna lose your mind. So I guess my question is, I know I'm supposed to be like giving advice, but if anybody has advice, like what is the balance between being exhausted of planning? Like I think since February, I feel like I literally am looking at schedules. Like we have a plan for everything, because, you know, just trying to find some normality in our life, right? What is anybody's advice on finding balance of being exhausted of preparing meals for your family, and then when things opening, not eating all the things? Like, how do you find that balance? Is anybody else experiencing this?
Listen, you have
that.
kids,
Feel
and
free
that's what
as well.
That's it. Until Penelope goes off to university and little man does his thing. You know what I mean? You're supposed to feel like that. And just knowing that there's gonna come a time, I'm an empty nester, right? My kids are grown, they're in Toronto doing their own thing. They both have, you know, their girls with them, and they're living their lives. And it's a wonderful feeling knowing that you gave them what they needed, and now they're in their place doing their thing. So my advice is, this is such an important job you're doing for them. And obviously give yourself some slack and have that fast food, you know, sometimes. But just know that this is not going to be forever.
Yeah.
And you don't want to look back and say, I should have been enjoying that more.
Mm-hmm.
You know, right now you're just craving me time. Can I just keep my feet up and not cook today? But it's not gonna be forever. So do those cheats. And even as a vegan, I keep telling people, I'm encouraging people who really need it and people who want to be vegan and don't know how. Because I wanted to for a long time and I thought, what am I going to eat? Just salad every day? I would have a salad and then I'm like, I'm hungry, but I don't know what to eat. So I'm giving people those options, but I want people to know that they must keep the door open. Some people just don't want to go vegan because they can't give up oxtail. Maybe I'm talking about myself. But, you know, they don't give up certain things. And why do they think they have to? So you can do this and you can still do that. So I feel like I don't want to be that weird guest who turns up and nobody knew I was vegan. So if I come to your house for dinner, so let me know, Janelle, when, you know, I'm coming. But, you know, if I turn up to your house for dinner, whatever you're cooking, I think I can work my way around it. I can eat it. I'm not going to turn up my nose because I've been eating it all my life, right? But what I have a problem with is looking at blood test results from people who just ate meat and people who just ate, you know, a vegan meal and see the difference. My husband is a medical professional, right? And I'm really glad that we went vegan when we did because he's out in the hospital and that was my crisis every day. Getting him through the door, cleaning him up, washing him off outside if that what was necessary, you know, what's he bringing into the house? And, you know, feeling like people weren't taking it seriously. So I was just working on his immune system. And one of the things that's interesting, and I wish people would say it more, is that what do we cater to in our bodies if we say we want to build up our immunity? And it's actually our guts. That's where 70% of, you know, the immunity, that strength comes from. And when people tell you, what do people tell you about fiber? Oh, eat fiber. Why? So you can poop. Okay? That's not really it. Fiber hits your intestine, and that's where the good bacteria is, and they actually need nutrition. And what do they eat? They get it from fiber. So they break down the fiber and they take what they need from it. And it's the good bacteria that then creates this balance between the bad guys and the good guys, which we need all of that. We have more bacteria in our body than human cells. So we need that balance and we need to feed the good bacteria. We all know as women, when we take antibiotics, it messes up that balance. Well, if you don't have fiber to feed these guys, you're out of whack. And when they're healthy, they actually sit in some of the seats and take up the space where a virus would attach. And so to build up your immunity, you have to have fiber. And if they would tell me that long ago, instead of telling me it needed to go to the bathroom, I would have been eating a lot more fiber, you know? So these are interesting little things, but Janelle, I went off topic, but girl, you're doing a good job. Pat yourself on the back. I had 2 little kids, especially one who would not eat food. And I swear, it gave me nightmares. My whole life I was dreaming about trying to feed people. And it's a natural, you know, mothering thing. I had this kid that I was feeding him food and he would just like not be interested. He was 2+ and he was still on bottle food with no lumps in it. He just was that kid. He's 26 years old, a big strapping 5'11", 6-foot man. You know, he's good to go. And so our bodies can tolerate a lot, but sometimes they start to say we need something different and something better. So all about listening to your body, recognizing, and I really recommend people do like even just a week of vegan. I'm not saying do your life, do a week and see what changes. And that gives you the ability to say, I no longer have neck pain. I no longer have sleeping problems. I'm not having the hot flashes. It gives you an opportunity to say what would happen if you change certain things. And then you can decide where you want to go from there. You know, bring back your things as you want them. But sometimes some people really need a deep cleanse to see how they can change their bodies and their health.
On your question, Janelle, I love cooking, but what I do, I always laugh. I cook like I have 4 children. It's just me. Like I cook in huge portions. I cook like a giant thing of vegetarian chili, and I just freeze it in portions. so that when I have those days when I'm just like, I cannot, I'm like, ooh, that thing is in the freezer. And I do things with it, like I'll like throw together a salad or like just like boil some pasta to go with it. And I also like give myself permission to have lazy gal meals. So like my lazy gal meal might be like, I have ramen in case of emergency. Like I never really eat it, but it's like for emergency. So the other day I was like, I need a lazy gal meal. So like I just made ramen and I cooked an egg. And I cut up some green onions and like veggies and stuff to just throw in it. So it was really easy. It took like 10 minutes. So I let myself do that every now and then. But the other thing that I wanted to bring up is like, is there another adult in your house? Because I think in a lot of households, there's always the one person who takes on the responsibility of food. And I want to say to anybody here who like has that job, like you, unless you're getting paid for that, you do not have to be the person who cooks all the time. And these people who say they can't cook, they flicking lie, because it's not that hard. Like they could get in there with you and watch you do some things. They could crack an egg in a pan, like, you know, like once you get to a certain age, I have little cousins who are like 8, 9 years old, and they can make themselves breakfast. Like they're not made to do it, but you know, they could get in the kitchen and fry an egg and like sausage or whatever it is that they want. I think we have to release the idea that as women, it's our job to constantly be nurturing everyone, including the adults that choose to be in our lives and that we choose to be in our lives as well. It's a form of unpaid labor that really goes unnoticed. And I think over this period where we're spending so much time together in the house and there's all this work to do, you really notice who does what. And it's a good time to challenge that, I think.
Yeah, I will say my husband does cook, so I shouldn't be too complaining. But I think it's just like it was.
So thinking of the planet.
I feel traumatized that we're going into another lockdown. Maybe that's what it is. It's like, oh my God, I have to cook
again.
The all the meals all day, right? Or prepare. I mean, other people do help in the house for sure, but it is the planning and all of that. So I think just the balance of maybe even being forced to do it, right? Like when you don't have to, then you feel like the freedom to make the meals as opposed to the forcing. I'm sure a lot of other people are feeling similar, the forced feeling of trying to figure out. I couldn't imagine, like you say, how would you feed a family of 4 on no money right now? Like I think about that all the time, like not just healthy choices, like no choices. That it's a really intense feeling. So I don't know, I guess we're everybody is going through emotional roller coasters. Where is the lady who was doing the mental health stuff? Was she not here? What's happening?
I think we got too deep in the food. We got deep in the food. I'm gonna pass up on some comments again. Somebody was asking, if anyone knows of like fruit or vegetable vendor folks in Harbor Island. So if anybody knows, you can drop it in the chat. And to name some fiber-rich foods, please. Somebody do that. And yeah, Deandra said, I get tired of cooking all the time. For me, though, it's cooking fun and quick meals and getting other people involved so that the work doesn't feel so tiring, even if it's one night a week. So yeah, that's nice to be able to cook with someone. Fran says, more leftovers, less cooked meals. I am team leftovers. But I only like leftovers that you can refresh and do something different with. So I don't want to eat like lasagna for 10 days. I will turn a chili into like 8 different meals.
You could have the lasagna with salad.
Yeah, that's true.
On the topic of the fiber, think of things like your oats, your chickpeas, a lot of your beans and peas, your broccoli, kale, cauliflower, spinach, mushrooms, and chia is one of those kind of superfoods right now, you know. So think of things like that. And if you're in doubt, guys, get on Pinterest and just type it in. I found it was a wonderful resource for me during this time. And on quick meals, you know, I don't know if you do some like vegan meals for the family as well too, Janelle, you know, because I'm thinking like, you know, the pasta with just some stir fry veggies and that gets to the table so quick, things like
Mm-hmm.
that. Or, you know, where you can just throw a sauce on something. So if you're still doing meat and you have, say, your chicken or whatever, and you have that chicken that you can, you know how they say, chop it up and do different things with it every day, you know, from one roast chicken, some sauce, and on top of something. So your pasta, your rice. And what I found actually, I know I keep saying about these carbs, but I was eliminating all these things from my diet before. So sugar, you know, trying to minimize and
Mm-hmm.
the pasta. And what I found was that when I went this way, all these things cleared up. So my reflux went away. Actually, even my lactose intolerance, once I had a craving and I went to get a milkshake and I thought maybe they had a soy one and they didn't. And I said to my husband, are we going straight home? And he said, yes. I said, okay, the dairy one. And it didn't affect me at all. And it's almost like my system wasn't working properly. And now that I've gone vegan and my system is actually functioning, if I cheat and I eat something, like I eat chips and I eat all this other stuff as treats, I eat chocolate, you know, but most of my day is vegan and my body seems to know what to do with it. And my body's still changing in a positive direction. I'm not gaining weight and I'm feeling good. So, you know, that works for me. You know, so like you say, everybody has to find what works for them.
There are certain things that I kind of trick myself into in some ways. Like I'm not a big water drinker. I never have been. Like it just never occurs to me to drink water. So I got this giant bottle and it is so heavy. Just carrying it around, I'm like, I got to make it lighter. So I got to drink some water. Or like if I'm sitting at my desk, I'll have to play little games with myself. Like if I know I'm on a lot of calls, every time somebody says like, drink some water, I like play drinking games with myself. And I also tend to crave, well, sometimes I crave sweet things at night. And I usually go for ice cream because I love ice cream. But I just buy a lot of fruit that I like. And when I have that craving, I'll have like a Greek yogurt with like banana or something like that to keep me from going for the obvious choice. And like now it's like my preference throughout the day. I'm like, I want something sweet. Do I have a popsicle from Pop Stop? Shout out to Pop Stop. Fruit popsicles made from native fruit. It's the best.
Yeah. Alicia, I wanted to, it's something that you said earlier. I really want to talk about that. And this is where I think her name is Indira, who wanted to talk about mental and emotional health. I think that's her name. Yeah, Deandra. Sorry, Deandra, I'm renaming you, honey. You know, Janelle, you said it first, Alicia. You talked about, you know, we're inundated as parents, as mothers, particularly with whether we work or whether we're stay-at-home moms, it's always a lot to do. Whether you have kids, 1 or 4, to me it's all the same. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of dedication to making sure that everybody's cared for. And so we spend a lifetime of nurturing ourselves, our everybody else except for ourselves. And there is going to be, and it's always happened, a point of breakdown, not breakthrough. The breakthrough is when you leave. The breakdown is, you know, you've lost your coping mechanism because you feel as though this is too much. And we as women create these habits in our homes where we now need to make everyone accountable. If your kids are old enough, then these chores become yours. Or tonight is just, if you cook every night, your home becomes your expectation, everyone's expectation. If you cook every night, your family is going to expect for you to cook every night. So everybody gets to choose something for the week. Not every meal is cooked. A 4-year-old can say, I like cheese sandwich. You say, guys, cheese sandwich on the list. That's what you have to eat. I'm not cooking. Peanut butter sandwich, if someone wants oats. And these are ideas that will pull you away from the stove or the kitchen. That's exhausting. Because what happens as women is that we are very strong individuals, but we do have a breaking point. And if we don't cut off or pull back, then we find that our mental and emotional health is impacted. And when we become overwhelmed, our entire family is affected by it. And so, Janelle, you talked about balance. Balance is so important. I have to go out to take a walk. Mommy, can I come? Definitely not. Not no. Definitely not, because no has some considerations. Definitely not is affirmative. You cannot go, this is for me. A drive. Or my kids had a tendency of, I would always go in the bathroom and sit down. So they always thought I was on the toilet. No, I was sitting by the tub. And someone would knock on the door. So I had to sit down with my kids and say, listen, when I'm in the bathroom, this is do not disturb. Don't assume. Wait until I come out to address your needs. And we need to do that a lot, because mentally and emotionally, yes, we're strong, but there are moments where we don't feel so strong. We don't feel so brave. We don't feel as though we have in the mornings the ability to get up out of bed. And there are various stages of depression, anxiety, and they happen when we are overwhelmed. Someone just said it, we just sometimes need a break. We need a break from our husbands, definitely. We need a break from our children, a whole lot. We need a break from all of the duties that we have assigned to ourselves as mothers. We did. And we created an environment that's conducive to the expectation. And so what it does is it runs us down while we're taking care of everybody else. That friend who calls and wants to talk 8 hours in one day about their problems. Please forgive me when I say this, take it to Jesus. But sometimes you need to just retreat and take care of yourself. And then you come back renewed and filled with energy. Eventually, your family then knows when you go away, you need it. But if you keep going, they're always going to expect it.
Good advice. Good advice.
Yeah.
And I completely agree. I'm just going to chime in here really quick. If you could go ahead if you wanted to. Oh,
no, go ahead.
Okay. What I always tell people is rest and reset. COVID-19 has given us the perfect time to take a step back and look at our lives. And it's given us the time to see how much effort we put into other people without refilling ourselves, right? So we see this quote going around a lot. You can't pour from an empty cup. So the more you give, the more you have to give back to yourself. So if you take 7 days a week to cook for your family, and I'm just using that as an example, it's gonna get tiring. Every day you need a new meal, and you make it feel like a responsibility instead of something that you actually want to do. And with COVID-19, every day you're in the house, so every day you're gonna have to cook. And it's becoming something that no longer feels like, oh, I'm providing for my family. Now it feels like a chore. Now it feels like something that's become daunting, something that you don't want to do anymore. So it's sometimes you just have to say, not today. And I find my mother doing that a lot. My mother cooks. She loves to cook. That's something that she loves to do. And since COVID-19 has started, she cooks 1 day a week. And if everybody else wants to eat, everybody else is going to have to find a way to eat. And that's what she's found herself doing, taking time for herself. And I completely agree with that. As women, we feel like we have to be strong all the time. We feel like we have to be on all the time for our family, for our kids, for our friends, for our jobs. And we don't take enough time for ourselves. So I tell my friends, I tell my mom, I tell the women in my family, rest and reset. If that means staying in your room all day watching Netflix, then do that. If that means going outside, walking around, my mother goes in the garden for about 5 hours out of the day because that's what she does to rest and reset. So we have fruit coming in from outside, and that's what she loves to do. She takes a little pictures and posts them on Facebook because that makes her feel like she's doing something in COVID-19. She's resetting. She's having all of these newfound things to do. So now she's finding herself in COVID-19 since she's not being what everybody else expects her to be. And I feel like as women, we need to do that more often. We need to take time to look at the things that we actually want to do and not the things that we are expected to do. So in terms of that, rest and reset. Take a break. Whatever that break means to you, even if it's 30 minutes every day, take a break. Take some time. Take you time is important. You time is important. Fill your cup so that you can be there to fill somebody else's, or you're going to be tired. You're going to be depressed, emotionally unavailable, snapping at people left and right. Trust me, it happens, and you're going to notice it even more that you're in the house every day in COVID-19. Everyone's going to be like, what's going on with mom? What's going on with Alicia? What's going on with Janelle today? Why are they not acting the way they normally do? And it's because you haven't taken time to recharge and reconnect with what you know. So it's taking breaks. Breaks are important. It's nobody's going to hate you for it. No one's going to feel bad that you need some time for yourself, because once you make an expectation, once you make it something that is known that it's something that you need, once you make that known to your family, I need this time for me so that I can be there for you, trust me, they're going to understand once you make it a priority for yourself. Make yourself a priority.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Janelle's 30 minutes for yoga or meditation or whatever. That's when Alicia gets in the bathroom. That's like a no-go zone. And I think we have to remind each other too that it's okay to take a break. And I think so many of us run on what we have to do that we might not actually know what we like doing. If you've never had time for leisure, how do you find it? So I would like to hear from everybody who's here in the chat. What is something that you found since March that you enjoy doing, or something new that you have tried? And you know, if you can't come up with something, then you have homework. Fran, I see you in the chat. I want to hear your voice, though. I want you to unmute and talk to us. But Fran says, sometimes you need a break. Stop taking responsibility for everything. Fran, I know you have other things to say. Talk to us.
So I'm listening. You know, I always have too much to say. But I agree with the whole take a break thing. I guess what I wanted to add to that is that I you know, and I put it in the chat, we take responsibility for everything. It's like we're responsible for everything, and so we have to organize it and do it and all the rest of it. We just need to let that go. Someone else can organize. I don't even need to say it's your day to cook. I just know that I'm cooking one day, and well, whatever you all do the rest of the week, just make sure you feed me because I fed you. You know, you know, so let it go, you know. I guess as far as what I've been doing while I've been at home, just like everyone else, I've been trying to garden, which I am the worst gardener, so needless to say, that is not going well. But it's fun. It's fun, and every now and then something's green, and it hasn't been eaten by the snails. So you know, you feel like, okay, there's hope. But also, though, what's been really good for me is that I've been getting out to exercise more. And of course, you know, whenever you exercise constantly, you definitely feel better. Mental health, everything feels better. So, and I'm close to the beach, so I get to walk down to the beach. Actually, COVID has not been, I'm actually in quarantine. I was just going to, COVID hasn't been bad to me, but I'm in quarantine right now. And even that hasn't been bad. So I'm not complaining about COVID. I agree. We got to spend time with ourselves. It just sort of changed the week. It's just been great. Next.
One of the things, hello?
Go
Hello?
ahead. We can hear you.
I don't know if you could hear me. That's why. One of the things that I did, but I didn't continue doing it because the yarn over here is a little costly, and I started, my daughter crochets, and been learning how to crochet. I did a couple different stitches, about 5 or 6 different stitches, and I made myself like a shawl. But I don't want to get into doing anything else big. I'm gonna have to find some smaller projects. And I did a bookmark for myself. So that was something that I took up that I did. I've been trying to learn how to do that for over 30-something years. And finally I sit down with the video from YouTube and learned it. All I did was pause it and do the stitch until I learned how to do it. And I just need some more yarn now to probably do more stuff on.
That is awesome.
That's one of the things.
What?
I have a lot of things I want to do, but
Teaching yourself something new feels amazing.
yes, it did.
Fina, do you want to talk to us? You want to tell us something good?
Careful, Fina might still be on our bicycle.
Hmm?
Fina might be out there cycling still.
She might be cycling. Anything else? Clavina, Olivia, anything that you found that you enjoy, that you just found out recently or reconnected with?
Yeah, sure. Hi, everybody. My name is Olivia Camp. Thanks for having me. And what I've been doing is when I wake up in the morning, before my brain starts going and says, well, you can't do this because of that, or you have to do this, I'm like, let's just put on these shoes and go walking, even if it's just for 20 minutes. Get the blood circulating and breathe that oxygen outside. There's nothing like it. And I've been rediscovering my love for reading, because you tend to, when you're studying and everything, a lot of the reading is for academic purposes. Now that I'm not studying, I've really gotten into reading for pleasure.
Hey!
Hello?
Hey.
Yeah. And so that's been one of the other things. And also getting into podcasts. The podcast that I'm currently listening to, his name is Darren O'Lean. He's the co-host of Down to Earth documentary with Zac Efron on Netflix. And like while I walk, I listen to that in the morning, and that's been really nice to just hear, it's like a conversation, as most podcasts are. And you get to hear different perspectives and advice on, things that you may not have even been exposed to in terms of your health, and not just the eating aspect, but the mental and all the holistic aspects. So yeah, thank you.
Cool, thanks, Olivia. Yeah, I noticed that I've been whipping through books too since lockdown, reading a lot faster and a lot more. Anyone else want to share? If not, we'll keep it moving.
Hi, this is Fina. Hi, Alicia.
Hi, Fina.
I just wanted to say thank you. This was so informative. I listened to this whole entire great conversation while bicycling and now walking the dogs.
I love it.
I just want to say thank you to everybody. And this is so encouraging. I needed this. Thank you, everyone on the panel.
Thank you for joining, Fina. Enjoy your walk.
Yes.
My girl.
Cool. So we kind of glossed over exercise a little bit. I know Alicia gave us some good tips, like using the 1 gallon water bottles and things like that. What are some other things that we could do at home to get moving? Especially for people who don't necessarily have like a chunk of time. What can you sort of do like throughout the day, maybe something here, something there? Maybe Janelle, you might have some ideas here.
Sorry, just unmuting myself. Yes. Like, I think YouTube and, like you said, Pinterest is actually a good resource. I mean, you think that you have to like do these life-altering exercises and, you're going to get abs in 30 days. And maybe you will. I'm not saying that you won't. But I think starting off small and figuring out what the goal is, right? So if you are sitting at a desk all day, your goal might just be, I need more cardio, I need to move, and not just say cardio for weight loss. I like people to just put more into, instead of trying to change something on their body, which is sometimes overwhelming because if you don't see that change come, you lose motivation, right? So you start smaller. So if you're sitting all day, then have a goal of moving around for steps, maybe count that, or just 20 minutes, 30 minutes. Like maybe take your dogs for the walk. You know, it doesn't have to be such a big goal, especially now, right? We're going through so much emotionally. So to have something that feels, again, overwhelming, at first it's exciting, and then you're like, I'm a failure, I didn't get to do that, because there's just so many things coming toward you. So my advice would just pick something small. And how would you get into your steps? Go take the dog for the walk. Take your kids for a walk. I mean, they need a walk too. Like, they're also sitting in front of the computer all day. Or stretch, do some yoga, pull up YouTube. All of this we have access to now. You know, it's about having the discipline and making just a small space in your house, not in the living room where your dogs and your kid just like run on top of you. Like, go somewhere, a small, tiny space. My husband has like made a space outside on the porch, like, so that when he knows he's ready to work out, he goes there. You know, that's his space. So I think finding a space in your home is a big, it helps a lot. It really helps.
Alicia in the comments said yoga in the morning and before bed is amazing. And Amazon has short 5, 10, and 15-minute videos, depending on how much time you have. But there's almost always time. So that's a good one too.
I wanted to add something.
Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say too, I think with exercise too, I think one of the main things is committing to doing it regularly. You know, you talk about doing something small, Janelle, and I think what happens is people don't realize that the little things do matter. So they feel like, oh, that's only 10 steps. And so it doesn't matter if I don't do it, and you get stuck. I think you get stuck there. So I think it's a lot, and like you say, having a space to do it too makes it a little bit easier, because if you know that I'm going to have this little space where I'm going to do it, I'm going to go and exercise at 3 o'clock every day, or wherever it's going to be, you have a designated spot. And so it's not a lot to think about when it's time to do it. It's just, it becomes more of a routine. I think getting to that point is a challenge, I guess is what I'm trying to say. That's a challenge. You need to decide, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do it regularly, so that you are doing it, because it's so easy to talk yourself out of doing it. So I think that's the important step.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I think start with 10 minutes a day. We have this thing where you should be working out an hour every day, and don't schedule it, because tomorrow you say, okay, I'm going to walk. Tomorrow something comes up, I'll put it off for the following day. My thing is just get up and move. So start with 10 minutes, and then you will find that you will gradually increase your time.
I agree.
But don't get up and, you're going to be a hero to yourself. Your body doesn't need that almost instantaneously. It really needs to be guided and guarded with respect to exercise. You find that you'll see people walking, and you think, okay, you hear your friends or your colleagues saying, I ran 7 miles. I'm not going to run 7 miles. I'm not you. I could barely make it to a quarter mile if I have to run. I enjoy walking, and walking alone, because, and I have to say this, please forgive me, but I find that if I walk with someone, I get less accomplished, because they need to talk about everything and all things.
I like the alone time.
I like alone time. But, back to my original point, start off small. Start off with 10 minutes, even if it's like Janelle said, yoga. If you have a Fire Stick, download the app, Yoga TV. You have morning, you have evening, you have night, where there are a number of exercises, stretches, relaxation. Take your pick. Not everyone's into that slow, sedentary, or no movement at all. It just pure quietness. Some people like noise, believe it or not. So you know what? Turn some music on and just walk just walk, just standing there and just walk in one place for 10 minutes. And when you start to feel exhausted, just stop, go and take a shower, and relax. The next time you do it, add another 5 minutes to it. We like this grandiose way of doing things, and they're less effective because you don't continue with it.
Exactly.
But if you find something to do and you start off really small, you're more than likely going to continue with it. Habits. You're at home, you can't move, you're in a lockdown, you have a counter. Put your arms or your hands on your countertop and do some push-ups, or stand there and do some modified jump jacks, one leg out, one leg in, one leg. There are a lot of things that you can do at home. And if you like television a whole lot, watch Blacklist while you're just walking in one spot. Or you don't need weights in your hand all the time. Just do some shoulder press with just your hands. You're working those muscles, but you want to keep the body moving, because this pandemic, and I have seen it, and a lot of people can attest to this, the amount of weight that persons have gained from March to now, it's incredible. And it's not about, I should look perfect. You should feel great. Just like eating food. Food should be climatic. That's why I don't do diets. Because I don't want to be, this regimented state of eating rice that's bland or chicken with no salt on it. Salt isn't a bad thing. Everything is bad when it's not done in moderation. When you overkill, you overindulge, then it starts to impact your decisions and how it affects your body. And so when you're home, get on your knees and scrub your tub. When was the last time I did? That is cardiovascular exercise. If you, like me, I live in a complex, I live upstairs, I walk outside and walk up and down these stairs. If you have bad knees, sit in your chair to the edge of your chair and just lift the knees up and bring your shoulders over to meet your knee. You work your core. So there are so many things that you can do. Be creative, but start out small. Gradually, you will become really good at it, or you will enjoy it so much that it becomes a good habit.
That is what I was doing a few weeks ago. And I had started out just like you said, small. I went for like 20 minutes. 10 minutes a little bit too short for me because I like to walk, and I don't walk fast right now because I'm still recuperating. But I started to do it, and then one day I went with my granddaughters to the beach, and one of them went too far out of where I couldn't see her, so I had to walk down there because you have to be careful. So I had to walk down to the beach to where she was, where I could see her, and I overdid it. And then that knocked me out for 3 weeks. So I'm just now getting back into it. I went to the beach yesterday. I walked down to the beach and I went into the water for a little while, and I kicked my foot in I went in a part, like just a shallow area. I didn't go out in the deep. And I laid down and I kicked my foot and I moved my hand and I got the water through to get the sinuses clear and all of that stuff, and came back home, and that felt good. So I didn't go today. I say what I'll do is I'll do it every other day until I build myself back up where I could do it for a longer time. And then I laid in the bed and I do my foot up and my hand up. And just now I had to stand up because I was sitting down on the bed too long, so I had to stand up and stretch. And I also am trying to learn the foods that are affecting me and making me feel luggy and down or whatever have you, and I'm cutting them, or I cut out the sugar and all of that. But I'm still eating some of the stuff because the house that I'm in, they like the cheese and they like the dairy and they like that. And sometimes if I don't have for me to eat, and of course I'll eat some of their own, but I find myself feeling so much better when I'm not eating that stuff, the dairy and all of that stuff. So I'm learning what works with my body for me, so what might be for you may not be for me, and I'm doing pretty good at it. When I first came over here, I was weighing 173 pounds. At one point I had gained 6 pounds, but now I'm down to 168 and a half. So I know I'm doing something right somewhere, and I'm feeling better again. So awesome. Good. I'm trying to get onto that vegan, or even if not completely vegan, close enough to it where I'm not eating the red meat. Well, I did indulge on my birthday.
Treat yourself.
Yeah. I know we've been talking about vegan, the vegan diet. We like to refer to it as. I'm definitely a supporter of it. But the reason why I personally have incorporated something like salmon or fish is I'm not very good at supplements. And one of the things the body does not produce is B12. You really have to, when you make that decision, you have to really do your research before you decide to take on the, I guess, the non-meat diet. If you don't know anything about it and you think that you're not getting protein, certain micro, certain micro and macro, and certain elements that should be in your diet, you're not getting. And so before you venture into anything outside of the Atkins and the Jenny Craig, because I'm not a good supporter of them. The thing about diets is when you start it, they shock your body. When you stop, it shocks your body again. And that's one of the reasons why you see weight is gained double the amount that you would have lost. So you really want to find something that your body can live in balance with. Yeah. And so when you're thinking about vegan, I know we've talked about it a lot. Personally, like I said, I'm not really good with supplements. So you want to do your research before you decide to jump into anything where it's not familiar territory. It's nice because it has so many wonderful benefits: hair, skin, heart, organs. And I think that would have been the natural way to eat. But some of us, our bodies require a little bit more than just fruits and vegetables, so to speak. But you want to make sure that you would have done your research. Everybody's
I'm doing
different.
that,
Yeah, everybody's different. And so we just can't just jump into anything. It's the same as I said earlier. You can't just walk out of your house, go on the road, and thought that you're going to run 10 miles for the first time in your life. You know, so today you have meat and vegetables. Tomorrow you have carbs and vegetables. The following day you have meat and something else. So some days, and someone said it earlier, some days you can have a non-meat diet. And that's really how you prepare yourself, by not cutting something out completely, but preparing your body for an undertaking. That's really what it is.
Well, what I found is that I love meat. I love meat, so I have to really. And but what I do is for right now, I know I can't go completely without it, because even if I try, like you say, my body would crave certain. I mean, I'm a carbs person, so I'm learning. And one of the things my doctor told me that I needed to cut out was the gluten, because I'm having react. And I found I love gluten, so when I do eat it, and then I feel half dead sometimes after when I eat it. I'm doing the research. I'm looking at the paleo. I'm looking at, one of the things that I found that I like, but I can't seem to find a balance in the recipes, is the AIP. That seems to be something more on what will work for me. But then I'm trying to find the recipes. I did a recipe with the black bean burgers, where I make it with a carrot, and I put oats in mine and everything. I liked how that was. It don't fry hard, but I liked it, and I use it. I do a batch with like 3 or 4, and then I have it. I don't have them every day, but I'll have it today, then I'll have it another couple of days later to try balance it out. But I find why I say that, I find that when I do eat that way, I find for me, but I take in the supplements. I have the vitamin B, I take the selenium, and there's a couple other things that I take because I already know I need them. Okay, and I forget what I was going to say, but I'm getting better at that. my thoughts go. But I found there is an improvement.
There's a lady. She's pardon me. Seven-day Adventist. She does. She teaches you how to prepare.
I've been to some of those.
Yes,
I've been to
yes.
some of them, but I found a lot of the information on Google is my, well, I wouldn't say my Bible because I still have my Bible, but Google is, I go to Google for everything. If anything, I go there and I don't just take one thing. I go and I look at something else and I look at something else and I try different things. So I'm getting there.
You have the right attitude, Stacey.
There was some mention of different supplements, and this is one of the things that Bianca wanted us to talk about as well. With all these vitamins and minerals that people are talking about, you're hearing about all this selenium and zinc and B12 and not a mineral, but people talking about sea moss. Like, what are some of the things that you think that we should know about? Alicia, Nadine, Janelle, is there anything that you are like an evangelist for or you think is nonsense?
Right. I don't intentionally take vitamin. Here, I've done some research and they're synthetic. So you're really not getting the benefits of the micronutrients that the body needs. I think it is incumbent upon each of us, if we have a deficiency, to find foods that have those particular vitamins or minerals in it. And our food source can provide all of the things that we need. I know for a fact that the body cannot produce B12. And so that once you become a vegan, it's a supplement that you should take. And I learned that the hard way because I'm just very good at stopping something. And I was a vegan for almost 16 years until I decided to become vegetarian, until I decided to try the vegan way. And I remembered passing out. And I had a deficiency, and B12 was my deficiency. And so I did my research before I decided to venture into the vegan diet per se. And just finding foods that have these micronutrients in it, these minerals, these vitamins. And it's our food source is very beneficial if we make the right choices. I said earlier what's in season. And so I think it's important that you do research. The Mayo Clinic has a website. There's a whole lot of information there. Yes, Pinterest, but my problem with Pinterest is when I go to look for something, I end up looking at clothes and shoes. So that's not really a good thing. Yes, I'm weak. Shoes are my fetish. And so I try to stay on websites that won't pull me away or distract me away from what I'm looking for. But I think education is key to any decision that you make with respect to your body. So back to vitamins and minerals, food is your greatest source. You know, vitamin D comes from plants, just like E, and so vegetables, A, K. So you really want to look at what has vitamin A in it, what has vitamin D in it, and those should be your choosing in terms of foods. Because I'm not going to take vitamins. I had 2 surgeries last year. And I remember the doctor was like, you need to buy multivitamin. And I'm like, why? He said, your body's going to need it. But he didn't ask me any questions about my lifestyle. And so I went, my sister went and bought these multivitamins. Literally, this is over a year. And I may have taken 2 out of the bottle. Because I'm not, some people need it where you have iron deficiency, but then if you eat meat, you want to eat liver, because liver is really high in iron. Sometimes we like to diagnose ourselves. We're passing out, we feel weak, oh, my iron is low. Go to the doctor, because only the doctor can make a determination of that. And so there are food sources that you can consume that will provide the vitamins and minerals that you need on a daily basis. So you don't have to. I'm sorry for the people who produce them, because I'm not good at advertising to them, but I'm not going to say, yes, you should take vitamins and minerals out of a bottle because there's a documentary, they're synthetic, especially the ones that we have here. We don't know where these vitamins are coming from. We don't know how they're made. And when the supply and demand is great, as with anything else, we cut corners just for sales. So that's my 2 cents.
No,
I'm a pharmacist by profession, and so that's where I started off. That was my background training. And I too don't like popping pills, you know. But the one thing that as a vegan you have to look out for is the B12 deficiency. But I was B12 deficient even before I became a vegan. It's something that anybody can be B12 deficient. And so we use nutritional yeast, and that provides the B12. You can season with it. You can use it in large quantities in your cooking. It has almost a cheesy flavor. So you can sprinkle it on your pastas. You can put it in your smoothies. And tofu and the non-dairy milks are also supplemented with B12. I'm careful where I get my information from because I've done a lot of research as well, but you have to be careful that you're not getting research that has come from the big dairy companies. You know, they're paying for the research that is actually ending up on a lot of the websites. So you compare your information and you kind of listen. We are so well informed these days, and sadly what's happening in the US should make us more aware of falsehoods. We should be able to hear it when we're presented with it. And you can listen to people speak and know that you're not getting the truth. There's money behind these things. People are saying things just for the money. Do you remember the big ads back in the day where smoke this brand of cigarettes, smoke that brand of cigarettes, the best doctors smoke Camel, or, you know, so there's so many things that we have been trained to believe, and we now need to step back and look at things with a fresh eye. Okay, so we have to be cautious where we get our information from, and we look at different sources. Like Stacy says, you don't just grab it from one source, you look at it from different places and you decipher and get in there. And for your iron, I know I was anemic for actually decades. When I was in college, I used to jump and give blood all the time. I was never afraid of needles. And then I found over the years that every time somebody requested blood donors, I could never give blood because I was anemic. And a few years before going vegan, when I had started to lean into the vegetables more heavily, I was doing my smoothies, and I recognized that I had to have a small procedure early last year. And when the result came back, I was shocked that my iron level, everything was where it was supposed to be. And the big difference in my life was the smoothies that I was having. The spinach, the kale, your tofu, your chickpeas, your pumpkin, all these things can provide you with iron. Your beets, your chia, your sweet peppers. So you're getting these things, but you're getting a lot more at the same time. So, you know, look into your balance and find what works for you, and do your research and find where you're comfortable. I think Stacey has a good attitude. And on the topic of exercise, one of the things that I found was a nice trick for me, it worked for me, was getting dressed in your exercise clothes way before. Like, start off the day like that if you have to and you're at home. Once you're wearing the clothes, it makes you start to think. And if you suddenly get in the mood and think, oh, I could do a few push-ups, or I could do some lunges while I'm waiting on the kettle to boil, it's a lot easier if you don't have to go and get dressed. So, you know, it's a habit, and you put the clothes on and you feel like, I could do something. I feel it happening, you know? And also the yoga is a great thing, and a lot of people are intimidated by it, but think of breathing exercises and stretching. That's where you have to start. And that's so good right now, because the breathing exercises that come with the yoga, they're teaching us to breathe deeply in and out. That shallow breathing we've become accustomed to doing. And being as, you know, COVID affects our lung capacity, it really is a nice comforting thing to think that we are building up our lung strength and we're breathing deeply. And that's the same time that we're also meditating. So there's so many benefits right there. And you can do yoga for lazy people. Just some breathing and some stretching. Hey, you can do it.
Yoga for lazy people. And
You don't
there's
have to do
there's chair yoga. So if you're stuck in an office and you don't really have the space to get on the ground, there are lots of things that you can do just sitting in your chair.
True.
Yeah. Do we have any other questions, especially from people we haven't heard from yet? There were some people who were pretty quiet. If you have any questions, if you don't want to use your mic, that's fine. You can drop them in the chat. We're watching the chat. Alicia, I know you said your battery might give out. So is there anything else that you want to add before you possibly unexpectedly disappear?
No, I'm going to hang in until it just it gives in. So I'm probably going to last until 8 o'clock. So I'm going to sit here. I think hey,
you're still with us.
I'm still with you. I think at the end of the day, we have to really start paying attention to ourselves. I think that we are forgetting us. I think that we're not taking care of ourselves when we look at, if my doctor sits in front of me and tells me he has to do a hysterectomy for a 22-year-old, then I am concerned. I am concerned that we have these epidemics in this country, and not because it's just happening. I think it has a lot to do with the choices that we're making. Granted, it's in some instances your genetic disposition, but I also believe, I'm a firm believer, that it is in the food that we eat. And I know I spoke earlier about fast food. And when I was studying nutritional counseling, and one of the things that we talked about was fast food chains. And most of their money is pumped into advertising. They have some of the best advertisements, but they also have the worst food. Fast food chains, it costs them a whole lot of money to change oil every day. Anytime oil and heat meets, the temperature goes up, the carcinogen level starts to increase. Carcinogen is cancer causing. But we like fries, we like burgers, and they're all prepared or fried or cooked in this recycled oil. And I don't know if you remember, some of you, when I was a kid, my grandmother would fry something and then she'd take the oil and put it in a bottle. When it cools down, Fran was like, Stacy's like, yeah, I know about this. And they would put it, once it's cooled down, they put it in the refrigerator, and when it's time to fry something else, they recycle this oil. And so the concern is the carcinogen level and what we are exposing to our body. In terms of your choices of meat, Stacey, I know you say you love meat, and these are important facts. If you like meat, I think Alicia said you like chicken breast. That is a good choice if you're a meat eater. But when you have the leg and the thigh and the wing, that's where they inject the hormones. And so we like wings, thighs, and leg in this country. One, because it takes the seasoning better, and two, it's cheaper. And so you really want to pay attention to what you're consuming, because food does two things, only two. It makes you sick, or it heals your body. That's it. There's actually no middle ground in there. It heals your body. That means it keeps it healthy, because we don't know what's happening in our body. It's not like we're looking in the mirror and we can see these beautiful faces that I see right now, but we cannot see what's going on inside of our bodies. And so whatever you consume helps or hinders. That's it, no middle ground. And so every time you put something in your mouth, ask yourself that question. Is this healing my body, or is this hurting my body? So there are a number of H's I use in words. healing, hindering, helping. And so we want to make sure that we are conscious enough to think about what we are putting in this body and how long is this body going to sustain what we are consuming. And ask yourself another question. Unless you go out there and you're in a car accident, how do you want to live the rest of your life out? Someone turning you over, cleaning you, or do you want to live a vibrant life? And that has everything to do with, outside of your genetic disposition, that has everything to do with what you consume. And so while you may get sick, maybe a diabetic, unless you have type 1 that's irreversible, type 2 is reversible. But as long as you go to the doctor and they're going to treat it, you're going to have it forever. And it's probably going to be the one thing that's going to take your life. And so you be your doctor. You let your food be your healing source. And so you can fight diseases or you can create them. That is a choice. And we all have that choice to make. Food can heal you or it can hinder. It can heal you or it can hurt you. Those are choices that you have to make. And I admonish everybody to try as best as you can, not every day, make the best choices you can for this body because it doesn't grow back.
Absolutely. And you know, on Alicia's topic, sorry, Stacey.
That's okay.
She's telling you about healing your body or hindering your body, right? But you know, it was a big release a few years ago, and everybody was so shocked when they released the information that sausages, processed meat, sausages, bacon, pepperoni, salami, beef jerky, ham, that they're all carcinogenic. So they're known to cause cancer.
Yeah.
And it was a big uproar when they actually said it is confirmed. Anybody hear anything about that anymore? It is called, it's in nobody's interest to take out a big ad to remind us about that. So it's on us to remember and know these things. It's in the same category with asbestos and with, you know, plutonium and cigarettes. It's not as bad as, but they're all in the same category. Class 1 carcinogen. So we're sitting here and we're listening to the information just passively that's coming through the ads. We need to turn that off. We need to turn our minds on and start to do our homework. Okay? This has been confirmed, and there's even statistics that show if you've had cancer, you should never be having dairy anymore. It's like almost a 50% chance of recurrence and, you know, bad scenario from there on. What's in the dairy? I mean, don't let me even start, because there's an amount of pus that is allowed in the milk. And that's all I need to hear, because that's one of the things that I'm kind of squeamish about, and I'm like, I'm out. Okay, so turn this on and stop just accepting the images that are being fed to you on the screen. People are paying big money to put those ads up there. Someone near to me, look at this. In the 70s or 80s, I think they put big money into the big oil companies, right? They recognized that plastic was not recyclable. And so what did they do? They put big money into putting ads out there to convince the consumer that we could recycle plastic. It cannot happen. We're out there grabbing all our bottles and putting it into containers. You check and find out where that plastic is going, right? It's not possible. They can maybe break it down once and make something. It's not going to happen twice. It's definitely not going to happen 3 times. So all the bottles and all the plastic that's out there, it's actually not recyclable. So Google it and you'll find that it's just an ad campaign. When they found that out, they said, okay, we'll put all the money into ads. And that's what they're doing with our food as well. And we're falling prey and getting sick and dying just because the people with the money don't want to lose that wealth. Meanwhile, we are losing our health, our lives, and we're feeding this stuff to our kids.
All right, we're down to our last 3 minutes. So I want to hear from Alicia. Please tell us again about your wellness center and where it is and where people can find you. And Nadine, definitely tell us about your Facebook group where you're dropping all these pictures of your pretty food and telling us how to do it.
Okay. Well, if the government keeps changing their minds about when we're going to open, when we're going to close, I'm probably not going to be open for the remainder of the year. But I have a wellness center and Pilates studio. Here, we are not concerned about aesthetics in as much as we are concerned about wholeness. And so we teach it, we preach it, whether it's an exercise, meditation. There are a lot of things taught here, trampoline classes, persons with lower back injuries, knee injuries, we get on a trampoline. I teach yoga Pilates, so I infuse Pilates with yoga. Most of the persons here have, they're either cancer survivors, they're diabetics, hypertensive, or they're overweight. These are the persons, truthfully, that are not welcome in the gym or they don't feel safe and secure. And so they come here. This environment is conducive to family, conversation, and transparency. And so I'm on Prince Charles and Colony Village. If ever you're passing, you'll see the butterflies on the building. Butterflies are life for me.
Did we lose that? That sounds like where I used to do Zumba.
Yeah, it's probably the same building, right by Epiphany Church.
I wonder if Alicia lost her.
I think maybe her battery died. Remember, it was on 6%.
Yeah.
Stacey, I think the name of it is Life Cycle Wellness Center, something like that.
It's right beside the church. What's that
right
church
by
called?
Epiphany.
Right.
Epiphany
Right.
Anglican Church. So if you're Prince Charles heading east, it's
a beautiful space. I know the space, so it should be lovely. I must check it out.
Yeah, so that's the corner before the Sea Great Plaza.
Yes.
Where you have Quality and Domino's and all that. And Nadine, tell us about your group, the name of the group, and the kind of content.
Girl, come on. What is it you're showing us? You're showing us something. Drop it in quick, girl.
We're going to run out of time. I wanted you to finish saying your stuff, but your web page. I made some bracelets. I need to do another one. It says no processed foods, no sugar, no greens, no soda. And I wear them on my hand most of the time. Just remind me. I still eat them, but it's not as, just a little bit. I'm working my way.
Okay. Okay, so my Facebook group that I started is JA Flower Girl Vegan. And Facebook.
I follow you.
I know, man. Here's my people. So I had a Instagram, but I found that I was able to share the videos that I was using because somebody already did a wonderful video. So I was able to share that in the group, and we have a lot of fun there. So it's JA Flower Girl Vegan. And so I share recipes that I have made. I share really comfort food type looking vegan food to make people realize that there is it's vegan food for greedy people. Just like yoga for lazy people, it's important. Vegan food for greedy people. And my husband, he's so greedy, and that man is the biggest carnivore, and he is loving it. We have obviously lost some weight, but it's more about being able to sleep, getting rid of the pain, the aches. It's the mood has changed. It's your body starts to feel good, and you start to feel like your life has purpose again. Because I was looking at the aches and pains and thinking, this is it for me. I mean, 20 years, I can't go another 20 years if these legs and knees swelling up on me. And now I feel so good. So I just really, you get all excited and you want to share it with somebody who can really help. So that's what I'm doing.
Awesome work you're doing and sharing with people and inspiring people to get creative in the kitchen and think about different ingredients that can be used instead of the ones that we sort of just by default go to because they're the ones that we know. So I encourage people to join the group or like the Facebook page. That brings us to the end of Women's Wednesdays this time around. Thank you so much to everyone for joining us and being a part of the conversation, whether in the chat or on screen and letting us see your faces. Special thanks to Nadine, Alicia, Deandra and Janelle, who had to leave to do her bedtime routine with her children. But we really, really appreciate your time and your sharing your experience and the knowledge that you have. I think it's great to have spaces like this to be able to hear from other people about what they're actually doing and what they've learned, and being able to challenge the ideas that we have that we don't realize are just ideas, and they're things that we can change and that can be built on or broken down and turned into something else. So we do this every month on a different topic. Next month, towards the end of the month, 16 days of activism against gender-based violence will start. That will start on November 25th and run to December 10th. So look out for the series of events that we'll be running then. But that means that Women's Wednesdays is still the first Wednesday, but we're going to be focused on gender-based violence, which is really important. If you've been paying attention to the news at all, you know that domestic violence has been a serious issue here for a really long time, and COVID-19 has exacerbated that and exposed it in a serious way. Last week we saw the murder of a woman and her daughter, a 30-year-old woman, I think her 8-year-old daughter. And there was some outrage. You know, there's usually outrage when the story first comes out or if it involves a child. But for some reason, unless someone is killed, we understand domestic violence is something that just exists or just happens, and that's not okay. And we need to break that down and figure out why this is happening and deal with it at the source, at the root, and realize we have a serious communication problem. And we need to solve that. And we need to not just talk to women about preventing domestic violence, but talking to men as well about not being perpetrators of violence. So we're going to be doing a lot of that, a lot of discussions around that in November. We talk about that all the time anyway, but in November in particular, during that period, it's an area of focus. So that'll be our topic next month. So a little bit less fun, well, a lot less fun to talk about than health and wellness, but really, really important. And that's actually a part of health and wellness, because domestic violence is a public health crisis, much like COVID-19 is a public health crisis, and we need to understand it in that way. So thanks again for joining us. Unfortunately, we had some tech issues. Zoom didn't want to help with the beaming us over to Facebook, so that didn't happen. But I recorded this session, and I will post it on the Equality Bahamas Facebook page, so you can look for it there and share it after. It starts maybe like 5 minutes into the conversation, so the beginning part is cut out. So we missed the introductions, I think, from our peeps, but we have their bios, it's fine, and we can find them on Facebook. Thank you all.
As long as we got Fina on our bicycle.
Yes, we definitely have that as a nice background.
You know, she attends this whole thing while she's out there riding. That's my girl.
Amazing. Amazing. That's a real friend. So have a great evening, everybody. Enjoy the rest of the week. Make good choices if you're grocery shopping tomorrow and Friday for the lockdown. Remember, we're going to be out again on Tuesday. Like Alicia said, don't panic and buy all the chips and cookies. It's going to be fine. We'll be able to shop again. Take good care of yourselves and each other. And good night.